Welcome to Void Realities. Here, the restless mind finds a quiet space to drift, a place where science becomes poetry and the universe unfolds like a dream. Every story is told slowly, softly, guiding you into calm reflection. Let your thoughts loosen. Let the noise dissolve and step into a journey made for sleepless nights, where the mysteries of time, space, and life itself become your lullaby. How weather works, the science behind phenomena, the breath of the sky. You look upward and the air above you is alive, a vast ocean, invisible yet ever moving. Every inhale you take is borrowed from this sky sea. Here begins the story of how weather breathes around you. You take a slow breath. The air enters your lungs, quiet and unnoticed, yet it is part of something vast. Above you stretches a sea without shores, an ocean that no ship can cross because it is everywhere, surrounding every leaf, every hill, every drop of water. This ocean is the atmosphere, thin, fragile, yet strong enough to hold the rhythms of weather. You may not see it, but you live inside it, like a fish inside water, forgetting the water is there until it shifts, ripples, or storms. The sky does not sit still. It moves even in silence. Each breath of wind, each tender stirring in the leaves, is the earth itself breathing. Imagine a slow inhale as warm air rises from deserts, from sunlit oceans, from your very skin. Imagine an exhale as cooler air slides downward, pressing gently into valleys, flowing toward the sea. The air rises, falls, swirls, and drifts, the sky's chest rising and falling with the light of the sun. You may think of the atmosphere as weightless because it feels so soft against your face, yet it has mass. It presses down on you constantly, like an invisible blanket, heavy but tender. Scientists call this pressure, and it is the weight of all the air above you. Every square inch of your skin carries the touch of the sky, even when the air seems still. It is a reminder that you are never apart from the breath of the planet. Picture Earth wrapped in layers of air. Close to the ground is the troposphere, where almost all weather unfolds, where clouds form, where rain falls, where winds wander. Above that, thinner layers stretch upward, the stratosphere, the mesosphere, the thermosphere, and beyond. But you, standing here, rest within the troposphere, a cradle where the living world and the breathing sky meet. It is here that you feel warmth, chill, breeze, and storm. It is here that your lungs borrow from the same air that nourishes trees and fuels fire. The air itself is a blend, mostly nitrogen, mostly silent, making up nearly 4 parts out of 5. Then oxygen, the giver of flame and breath. Small traces of argon, carbon dioxide, and other gases weave through as well. Yet these small ingredients hold great power. Carbon dioxide, though only a tiny fraction, is the keeper of heat, a gentle trap that keeps the planet warm enough for rivers to flow and seeds to sprout. Without it, Earth would freeze. Too much of it, and the sky grows fevered, changing the weather in ways that ripple through every life. When you look up, you see blue. That color, soft and endless, is the scattering of sunlight by air. The shorter blue waves of light spread wider than the longer red ones, so the sky glows with a calm hue that feels infinite. At dawn and dusk, when the sun's light must travel through more of this breathing blanket, the blues scatter away, and only the reds and oranges remain. Thus even color itself is a whisper of the air's presence. The breath of the sky is never still, because the earth itself is never still. The planet spins, tilts, and moves through space. Sunlight strikes one side while the other rests in shadow. These contrasts, warm and cold, light and dark, stir the air into motion. Where the ground warms quickly, air lifts upward. Where oceans cool slowly, air sinks. These movements create currents, swirls, and tides in the atmosphere. They are not random. They follow patterns like the rhythm of a heartbeat, shaping the weather you feel. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast desert. The sand beneath you grows hot beneath the sun, and the air above it rises, lifting in shimmering waves. Now picture the sea nearby, cool and deep. Its air sinks lower, denser, drifting toward land. This movement, rising here, sinking there, is the sky's breath, the very beginning of winds. Every breeze on your face is part of this unseen exchange, this give and take between land and sea, sun and shadow, warm and cool. Weather begins with these simple shifts, but it does not end there. The breath of the sky stretches far beyond what you feel in a single place. Air that rises above one continent may drift for days before settling elsewhere. Dust from the Sahara can cross the Atlantic, feeding forests in South America. A breeze that stirs the rice fields of Asia may, in time, join the currents circling the poles. The sky's breath is shared, connecting you to distant lands. This ocean of air is also a traveler of memory. Within each breath is water vapor, invisible, waiting. Some of that vapor may have once rested in a mountain stream, or a distant ocean, or a cloud drifting above another world of people. As it moves, it carries stories of place and time. Later, when it cools, it may fall again as rain, feeding rivers that flow toward seas, only to rise once more. Every drop is part of the cycle, every breath part of the sky's endless inhaling and exhaling. If you listen closely, you can feel this breathing in your own body. On hot days, your skin releases moisture, which rises, joining the air's hidden rivers. On cold nights, your exhale turns to mist, briefly visible before it disappears into the atmosphere's vastness. You are not separate from the breath of the sky. You are part of it, an exchange of warmth, moisture, and air. Scientists sometimes describe the atmosphere as fragile because it is thin compared to the earth beneath it. If the earth were the size of an apple, the breathable air would be no thicker than the apple's skin. And yet, fragile as it seems, this thin layer is powerful. It shields you from harmful rays of the sun. It burns away meteors before they touch the ground. It holds warmth in balance so life can bloom. This fragility and power exist together, as do stillness and storm, calm and change. As you lie back and imagine the sky above you, think of it not as empty but as full of currents, colors, and whispers. Each moment, molecules of nitrogen and oxygen dance, colliding and separating, forming an invisible music. This is the air you breathe, the breath you share with trees, oceans, and mountains. The atmosphere is not just around you. It is within you. You are a being of the sky as much as of the earth. And as you let your thoughts drift, the question lingers. If the breath of the sky begins with heat and light, what dances awaken in the air when the sun first touches the earth? And as you let your thoughts drift, the question lingers. If the breath of the sky begins with heat and light, what dances awaken in the air when the sun first touches the earth? The dance of heat and light. The sun touches earth with uneven warmth. Heat moves like invisible hands, sculpting winds and currents. Warmth rises, coolness sinks, a never-ending waltz. You are carried gently within this quiet choreography. When you open your eyes to the morning, the first touch you feel is light. It streams across the sky, soft at first, then brightening, filling valleys, climbing hills, sliding over rivers. Yet this light is not only color, it carries warmth, a steady gift of energy. It is the sun's hand upon the earth, shaping the air in ways both subtle and grand. Everywhere the light falls unevenly. At the equator, sunlight arrives more directly, pouring down in full strength. At the poles, it arrives at a slant, weaker, stretched across distance. This uneven touch is the beginning of motion. Warm places rise into stillness, cool places sink into shadow. This difference creates contrast, and contrast is the breath that stirs the sky. Heat itself is not a thing you can hold. It is motion, hidden within molecules. As the sun warms the ground, the molecules of soil, stone, and water begin to move more quickly. They vibrate, expand, and send this restless energy upward into the air above. Warm air grows lighter, less dense, and rises. Cooler air, heavier, settles downward. From this simple exchange, rising here, sinking there, comes the great circulation of the atmosphere. Imagine standing in a meadow at noon. The grass beneath your feet is warm, the air above it shimmering with rising waves. Now picture walking into a shaded grove. The coolness settles around you instantly, as though the trees themselves exhale. This contrast is a small fragment of the global dance, heat lifting, coolness sinking. You are walking through the choreography of the sky. Scientists call this process convection, but you can think of it as a dance floor where warmth and coolness are partners. Warmth steps upward, twirling gracefully. Coolness follows, bowing downward. They trade places endlessly, never resting. This dance creates thermals, rising columns of air that carry seeds, insects, and sometimes even birds who ride the invisible currents. Gliders and hawks use these warm pillars of rising air to float without flapping, lifted by the invisible hands of heat. The sun does not warm everything equally, even on the same landscape. Dark soil absorbs more heat than pale sand. Water changes slowly, holding and releasing warmth with patience. This difference in absorption shapes breezes along shores. During the day, land grows hotter than sea, and warm air rises above it, pulling in cooler air from over the water. At night, the rhythm reverses. The sea, still holding warmth, sends air back to land. This daily exchange, the land breeze and the sea breeze, is a gentle reminder of the sun's constant influence. You may feel this when walking by the shore at sunset, the air shifting direction, the cool scent of salt brushing your skin. It is not random. It is a pattern, born of light and heat, repeating each day like a familiar song. The planet listens to the sun and responds with its own movements. Now step back in your imagination and picture the whole Earth. At the equator, where sunlight pours down most strongly, warm air rises high into the sky. It drifts toward the poles, but as it does, it cools, growing heavier, sinking again. This great movement creates circulation cells, vast loops of rising and falling air, known as Hadley cells, Ferrel cells, and polar cells. Though their names sound distant, their breath touches you each day. They are the sky's great arteries, carrying warmth from the tropics toward cooler lands, balancing the planet's heat. Without this circulation, the equator would burn unbearably hot, and the poles would freeze beyond imagination. The dance of heat and light distributes energy, ensuring the planet remains habitable. It is a quiet miracle, unfolding each day above and around you. But light does more than warm the air. It feeds life. Sunlight drives photosynthesis, allowing green leaves to capture energy, turning carbon dioxide into oxygen, weaving sugars from light itself. Each breath you take depends on this alchemy. The warmth you feel on your face, the glow that stirs your skin, is the same force that fuels forests, fields, and oceans of plankton. The dance of heat and light is not only about air, it is the foundation of life itself. The sun also paints time. Its rising and setting create rhythm, morning coolness, afternoon warmth, evening calm. The tilt of the earth shifts this rhythm into seasons, with light lingering long in summer and retreating in winter. These changes shape migrations, harvests, the sprouting of seeds, and the falling of snow. When you feel summer's long day or winter's brief sun, you are feeling the choreography of light, stretched across months and miles. Sometimes the dance of heat and light becomes visible in dramatic ways. Over deserts, the rising air creates mirages, bending light into pools of water that vanish as you approach. Over mountains, warm air climbs, cools, and condenses, forming clouds that crown peaks in white. Even the twinkling of stars at night is shaped by heat rising from earth, bending light like ripples on water. The air does not move alone. Oceans join the dance, carrying heat slowly but powerfully. Sunlight warms surface waters, which drift with currents across the globe. Near the equator, warm water moves poleward. Near the poles, cold water sinks and slides back toward the equator. This oceanic ballet, combined with the movements of air, creates the climate you live within. What feels like a passing breeze on your cheek is connected to currents that cross entire oceans, stirred by the sun's uneven touch. Think again of your breath. Each inhale is cooler or warmer depending on this dance. On a summer afternoon, you breathe warmth that has risen from sunlit fields. On a winter morning, you draw in air chilled by long nights of shadow. You are part of this cycle, a witness and participant, carried gently within the sky's vast choreography. And yet, for all its grandeur, the dance of heat and light remains tender. It is in the warmth of sun on your eyelids as you rest. It is in the cool relief of evening shade. It is in the wind that drifts through your window as you fall asleep. The science is real, but so too is the feeling. The comfort of knowing that light touches you as surely as it touches mountains, oceans, and forests. As night falls, the sun seems to leave, but its presence lingers. Heat stored in the ground, in walls, in oceans, continues to move, slowly releasing into the air. The dance does not end when the light fades. It only shifts tempo, quieter, slower, waiting for the sun's return. This dance is endless, yet always changing. No 2 days are the same. Clouds shift, breezes wander, sunlight bends differently with each season. The choreography is familiar, but never repeated. It is a living rhythm, a reminder that you dwell not in stillness, but in motion. As you let this thought carry you, your mind grows soft with the image, a planet turning, warmed unevenly, breathing with every sunrise, and you may wonder gently, if warmth and light set the air in motion, what paths do those wandering winds choose to follow next? And you may wonder gently, if warmth and light set the air in motion, what paths do those wandering winds choose to follow next? Winds that wander. Air begins to drift, first softly, then with purpose. Some winds cross oceans, others swirl around valleys. They are rivers of air, carrying seeds, whispers, and storms. You feel them brush against your skin, ancient travelers. You stand still, and yet something touches you. A faint stirring brushes your cheek, ruffles your hair, moves through the trees. It is the wind, unseen but felt, ancient and alive. You cannot hold it in your hands, but you know it is there. You hear it in the leaves, see it in the swaying grass, feel it against your skin. The wind is the atmosphere in motion, a vast and wandering traveler that never rests. The air does not move by chance. It wanders because the dance of heat and light has set it in motion. Where warm air rises, cool air slides in to take its place. Where pressure grows high, air pushes outward. Where pressure falls low, air is pulled inward. This is the quiet push and pull that makes the sky flow. Winds are the breath of the earth stretched out, turning stillness into movement. Imagine the globe before you, spinning slowly in the dark of space. The sun strikes one side, leaving the other in shadow. Warmth rises near the equator, flowing toward the poles. Cold air slips down from the poles, drifting back toward the equator. If the earth stood still, this pattern would be simple. A straight exchange, up and down, warm to cold, cold to warm. But the earth does not stand still. It turns endlessly, carrying you with it. This turning bends the winds. As air flows north or south, the planet's spin twists its path, curving it eastward or westward. This bending is called the Coriolis effect, though you do not need the name to feel its touch. It is why trade winds sweep steadily across the tropics, guiding the sails of ancient ships. It is why great jet streams race across the upper sky, carrying storms and seasons. The spin of the planet weaves order into the wandering, shaping rivers of air that encircle the globe. Close your eyes and imagine standing on a shoreline. The breeze you feel may have crossed an entire ocean. It began as rising warmth near the equator, turned by the Earth's spin, carried by pressure, pulled toward balance. Along its journey, it gathered moisture, lifted waves, carried salt spray, and perhaps even dust. When it reaches you, it carries a story of distance, a memory of places you will never see. Each wind is a messenger, connecting you to deserts, seas, and mountains far away. Winds do not wander only across great oceans. They wander close to the ground as well, flowing through valleys, curling around hills, tumbling down slopes at night. These local winds are born of small contrasts, the difference between warm land and cool shade, sunlit rock and icy glacier. In mountain valleys, cool air slips downward in the dark, pooling like water in basins below. By day, the sun warms slopes, sending air climbing upward, lifting scents of pine and stone. The winds you feel on a hike are the earth breathing in miniature, its rhythms scaled down to valleys and ridges. Sometimes winds gather into fierce companions. Think of the monsoons, vast seasonal breaths of the earth. In summer, warm land draws in air from the sea, heavy with moisture, bringing months of rain to fields and forests. In winter, the pattern reverses, and dry winds flow outward, carrying dust across continents. These wandering monsoon winds shape harvests, rivers, and lives, repeating their cycle year after year. To the people who live within them, the winds are not abstract science. They are life itself, the turning of seasons written in air. Wind also carries life in small ways. Seeds with wings or feathery tufts drift on its currents, settling far from where they began. Spores, pollen, even tiny insects travel with the wind, lifted into journeys they could never make alone. What brushes your cheek may also carry the potential for forests, fields, or wildflowers in places unseen. The wind is a carrier of possibility, and the wind carries stories. In the Sahara Desert, storms lift dust high into the sky. That dust crosses the Atlantic, falling upon the Amazon rainforest, where its minerals feed the soil. Without the desert's winds, the jungle's life would fade. Half a world apart, yet connected by invisible rivers of air. Each gust, each current is a link in the web of earth. Even the storms that seem wild and unpredictable are shaped by wandering winds. Hurricanes gather where trade winds converge, spiraling into powerful vortices fed by the heat of warm seas. Tornadoes spin when winds at different heights clash, twisting into narrow funnels of force. Though they seem like chaos, their paths are born from patterns, the endless dance of pressure, heat, and movement. Wind is the sculptor of weather, carving skies into calm or fury. And yet wind is also tender. It cools your skin on a hot day. It carries the scent of flowers in spring, of salt in summer, of fallen leaves in autumn. It bends wheat fields into waves, turns kites skyward, and whispers through open windows at night. Wind is both force and caress, power and softness, wandering endlessly across the planet. High above you, in the upper reaches of the atmosphere, wander the jet streams. These are narrow, fast rivers of air, racing west to east, guiding storms and weather systems. Airplane pilots know them well, riding their currents to save time and fuel, or avoiding them when they turn rough. These jet streams are the Earth's arteries, pulsing with speed, connecting continents in hours instead of weeks. When you hear of storms crossing oceans, know that they ride these high-speed winds, steered by invisible hands. The winds are never truly still. Even on the calmest day, air moves, shifted by small differences in pressure, by subtle heating, by the planet's turn. Absolute stillness is rare. There is always a whisper, a drift, a slow wandering. The atmosphere is restless, forever seeking balance, forever carrying, forever changing. And as you listen to this thought, you realize you too are carried by the wind. The air you exhale joins its wandering, drifting upward, mixing with currents, perhaps traveling far beyond what you know. A part of you will cross mountains, seas, and valleys. You are not separate from the winds. You are one of their passengers, just as much as seeds, dust, and clouds are. The winds that wander are ancient, yet always new. The same breezes that brush the skin of early humans brush yours today. The same trade winds that filled the sails of explorers still sweep across the tropics. The same monsoon winds that fed ancient fields still water crops each summer. To feel the wind is to feel continuity, the breath of generations carried forward. You let this realization settle in, calm and expansive. The air is not empty, it is alive, in motion, carrying histories, futures, and presents. Every gust, every breeze, every whisper is the earth reminding you that nothing is still, that everything is connected. And as you rest in this thought, Another question emerges. If winds wander, carrying seeds and whispers, what shapes do they gather when they bloom into clouds above? And as you rest in this thought, another question emerges. If winds wander, carrying seeds and whispers, what shapes do they gather when they bloom into clouds above? Clouds, the floating gardens. From waters rise, the sky grows flowers of mist. Clouds bloom in shapes both fleeting and eternal. They carry sunlight, shadow, and the promise of rain. You learn to see them as soft messengers of change. Look upward, and you see the sky's quiet bloom. White shapes drift, stretch, and scatter across the blue, sometimes like feathers, sometimes like mountains, sometimes like entire seas. These are clouds, the floating gardens of the atmosphere, growing not from soil, but from the invisible breath of water. They appear soft and weightless, yet they hold power enough to shade continents and pour rivers back onto the land. A cloud begins as something you cannot see. When warmth lifts moisture from oceans, rivers, and leaves, the air carries it invisibly, a hidden vapor mingled with nitrogen and oxygen. This vapor rises, drifting higher until the air grows cooler. Cool air cannot hold as much water as warm air, so the vapor gathers together, condensing into tiny droplets. Each droplet is impossibly small, lighter than a grain of dust, but together they bloom into a visible shape. A cloud. You might imagine clouds as flowers of the sky unfolding in silence. Each one is a collection of millions of droplets, or even crystals of ice suspended by the breath of winds. They do not fall because they are too small, carried aloft by gentle currents. And yet, given time, they grow, gathering weight until rain is inevitable. A cloud is a garden of waiting, balance between rising and falling, forming and dissolving. Clouds wear many shapes. Some stretch like thin veils across the sky, delicate wisps called cirrus, high and icy, painted by winds into strokes of white. Others puff like cotton, bright and rounded, drifting slowly across summer fields. These are cumulus, playful and familiar. Sometimes clouds grow into vast gray blankets, stratus layers that cover the world in muted light. And when the sky grows restless, they tower into immense forms, anvil-shaped cumulonimbus, thunderheads that crack with lightning and roar with thunder. Each form is a different note in the sky's quiet symphony. Think of the way a cumulus cloud looks in the afternoon sun, brilliant white above, shadowed blue beneath, edges glowing as though lit from within. These are not just shapes to admire, they are living evidence of the invisible dance of air and water. They reveal where air has risen, where moisture has gathered, where warmth has lifted into coolness. To watch the sky is to watch the earth breathing. You might remember lying on your back as a child, staring upward, seeing animals, castles, and faces in the drifting clouds. This playfulness is not just imagination. It is a reflection of how clouds connect to your mind, inviting you to pause, to notice patterns in their endless transformations. Clouds remind you that even the sky is alive, never fixed, always changing, as fleeting as thought itself. But clouds do more than delight the eye. They shape the planet's balance. When they spread wide, they reflect sunlight back into space, cooling the earth. When they gather thick, they trap warmth below, keeping nights from freezing. They are blankets and mirrors at once, regulating temperature with every shift in form. Without clouds, the earth would burn hotter by day and freeze colder by night. Their drifting presence is one of the atmosphere's most tender guardianships. Clouds also carry memory. Each droplet that forms within them was once elsewhere, part of an ocean wave, a mountain stream, or the mist of a breath. Lifted by sunlight, carried by winds, they gather together in the sky. Later, when the time comes, they return as rain or snow, completing a circle older than any human memory. To watch a cloud is to see part of this eternal cycle, water's endless rising and returning. High clouds often foretell change. A veil of cirrus may whisper of storms days away. Towering cumulonimbus announce thunder long before it arrives. Farmers, sailors, and wanderers have long read clouds as signs, learning to recognize the messages hidden in their shapes. To them, clouds were not just decoration, but guidance: when to sow, when to harvest, when to sail, when to seek shelter. In every age, the floating gardens have been teachers, and clouds inspire more than practical knowledge. They are woven into myth and poetry, painted as thrones of gods, messengers of heavens, bridges between earth and sky. To lie beneath them is to feel their presence not only as science, but as something spiritual. Even knowing the molecules, the condensation, the physics, the beauty remains. The science deepens the wonder rather than stealing it away. Imagine walking beneath a sky where clouds are scattered like petals. The sunlight breaks through in golden beams, shafts of light descending to earth in radiant columns. These crepuscular rays, as they are called, appear heavenly, though they are only light divided by drifting clouds. To the eye, though, they are more than physics. They are grace itself, a reminder that beauty is born from the meeting of light and shadow. On some days, clouds are heavy, dark, pressing low. You may feel their weight as mood, a sense of waiting. Yet even these dark blankets hold purpose. They gather rain that nourishes soil, fills rivers, and sustains life. A storm cloud may seem ominous, but within it is the promise of renewal. Without such clouds, forests would wither, crops would fail, and life would falter. What feels heavy above is often the bearer of life below. The largest clouds, thunderheads, rise miles high, their tops spreading into anvils where air grows too thin to carry them further. Within them, air churns violently, updrafts, downdrafts, lightning, hail. They are gardens of energy, sculpted by wind and heat. And yet even here, the cycle is the same. Vapor rising, condensing, falling. The scale is larger, the drama greater, but the principle remains. Clouds are water in motion, endlessly transformed. Sometimes clouds touch the ground. You call it fog, but it is the same process. Air cooled until vapor condenses, droplets suspended so low you walk among them. To step into fog is to step into a cloud, to feel its dampness on your skin, to see the world muted and close. It is the sky lowering itself, wrapping you in its mist, and above the mountains you may see lenticular clouds, smooth, lens-shaped forms that hover in place, unmoving while winds rush past. They look like ships, alien and strange, yet they too are simply air and moisture, trapped by the shape of terrain, sculpted into stillness. To see them is to remember that clouds are as much shaped by earth as they are by sky. When night falls, clouds continue their quiet work. They glow softly in moonlight. They drift unseen in darkness. They shield or reveal stars. Sometimes high, thin clouds catch the sun's light long after the ground is in shadow, painting twilight with color. In these moments, clouds remind you that the day lingers even as night begins. As you breathe beneath them, you are connected to their cycle. The air you exhale may one day rise as vapor, join a cloud, fall again as rain. You are part of the floating garden, part of the endless blooming and fading of sky flowers. To see a cloud is to see yourself reflected, always in motion, always changing, yet always part of a greater whole. And as you let your thoughts drift upward with them, you may begin to wonder. If clouds are the sky's gardens, blooming with promise, what happens when those blooms release their waiting gifts, falling back to earth as rain? And as you let your thoughts drift upward with them, you may begin to wonder, if clouds are the sky's gardens, blooming with promise, what happens when those blooms release their waiting gifts, falling back to earth as rain? Rain, the sky's gentle return. Droplets gather heavy with longing. They fall back to earth, completing an endless circle. Each raindrop carries memory of ocean, river, and sky. You hear the soft rhythm as the planet sighs in relief. You listen, and the first sound is a hush, a patter, a rhythm, soft against the leaves, rooftops, and soil. Rain has begun. The sky's quiet return to the earth. Each drop falls as though guided by memory, carried downward from the clouds above, answering the gravity that always waits below. Rain begins long before it touches your skin. Within clouds, droplets gather. At first they are too small, held aloft by the breath of air, light enough to drift endlessly. But slowly they merge, colliding, joining, growing heavier. They cling to tiny particles of dust, salt, or ash, small seeds around which water forms. When the droplets become too heavy for the air to hold, they fall. This is the moment of release, the sky surrendering its weight. Picture it, millions of droplets descending at once, each one tracing its own path through the air. They fall not in silence but in song, tapping leaves, drumming rooftops, rippling ponds, sinking into soil. The sound of rain is not just noise, it is the earth exhaling. It is the release of tension, the return of water to the places it left. Each raindrop carries a story. The water within it may have once risen from an ocean wave, lifted by sunlight, or from the surface of a river, or the breath of a tree. Some droplets may even hold water that was frozen for centuries, only now released into the air. When they fall, they return not as the same water they once were, but as part of the cycle, transformed yet continuous. The rain you feel tonight may contain molecules that once drifted above distant mountains, or once nourished plants in a time long before your own. Rain has many moods. Sometimes it arrives gently, a mist that lingers, barely felt upon your face. At other times it falls steadily, a rhythm that endures for hours, soaking the ground, feeding roots. And sometimes it comes with force, a downpour that pounds the earth, overflowing rivers, washing streets. Yet in each form its essence is the same, the return of water, the completion of the sky's promise. Consider the way rain smells. There is a name for it, petrichor, the earthy scent that rises when drops strike dry soil. The aroma comes from oils released by plants, from compounds in the ground awakened by water. To breathe in rain is to breathe in the hidden chemistry of earth, stirred to life by falling drops. That smell is memory made tangible, a reminder of soil and seed, of life waiting to grow. Rain also carries the power of renewal. It washes dust from the air, cleansing skies. It seeps into soil, filling aquifers, feeding rivers. It nourishes roots, swelling seeds into sprouting. Without rain, the cycle of life would break, crops would fail, forests would wither. Rain is the quiet giver, the unseen hand that sustains. And rain is balance. Too much, and rivers overflow, valleys flood, homes drown beneath waters. Too little, and land cracks, thirst spreads, lives are strained. The rhythm of rain must be steady, and yet it rarely is. Seasons of drought and flood remind us that water is both gift and challenge, abundance and scarcity. Humanity has always lived in relationship with rain, waiting for it, praying for it, celebrating its arrival, fearing its absence. Think of the monsoon, where rains sweep in after months of heat, transforming landscapes. The first drops darken the earth, releasing scent, stirring joy. Fields awaken, rivers swell, forests breathe deeply again. For those who live with the monsoon, rain is not only weather, it is the heartbeat of survival, the keeper of time. Even in quiet lands, rain shapes memory. A gentle drizzle may soothe you, calming the mind with its rhythm. A sudden storm may thrill you, lightning flashing, thunder rolling, rain pouring in sheets. And then there is the peace after, when the rain stops and the world feels washed, renewed, soft. Puddles reflect the sky, leaves glisten, air feels fresh. Rain carries not only water, but stillness. Rain can also be icy. When droplets fall through cold air, they may freeze, becoming sleet or hail. Or in winter, water vapor forms snowflakes instead, drifting instead of pattering. Yet even here the principle is the same, water returning, changing form, circling endlessly. Rain is only one face of the same endless cycle. If you watch closely, you see how raindrops never fall alone. They join together, forming streams on windows, rivulets in streets, rivers flowing to the sea. Each drop, though small, joins countless others, becoming something greater. This is how oceans are sustained, how landscapes are carved, how valleys and canyons are shaped over ages. Rain is not just a moment, it is an architect of earth. And still, rain is personal. To stand in it is to feel connection to the sky, to the cycle, to time itself. Each drop against your skin is the touch of something vast, something that has traveled through clouds, carried memory, and returned to you. In its rhythm you may hear comfort, a lullaby written by the planet itself. Rain falls on all alike, on forest and city, mountain and plain, rich and poor. It is the great equalizer, falling without judgment, touching every surface. To stand in the rain is to stand in unity, sharing in something that belongs to no one, yet belongs to all. As you listen now, imagine rain falling around you. Hear its patter against leaves, feel its coolness on your hands, breathe its scent. In this moment you are part of the cycle, part of the gentle return. The water that falls tonight will rise again, will drift as vapor, will form new clouds. The sky gives, the earth receives, and then, once more, the sky gathers. And as the last drops fade, another thought arises. If rain is the gentle return completing the cycle, what happens when the sky grows restless and the breath of air twists into storms? And as the last drops fade, another thought arises. If rain is the gentle return completing the cycle, what happens when the sky grows restless and the breath of air twists into storms? Storms, the sky in motion. Sometimes the air grows restless, swirling with power, lightning cracks, thunder rolls, winds howl like voices. Even in chaos, patterns hold deep meaning. You watch in awe, knowing storms also clear and renew. The air does not always move gently. Sometimes it gathers itself, restless, full of energy, no longer content to drift softly. Pressure deepens, heat builds, winds quicken. The sky begins to shift and you can feel it, the heaviness before a storm, the hush of air that waits, the tension that thickens around you. This is the beginning of motion becoming power, the moment when the breath of the sky turns into something fierce. Storms are the atmosphere's release. When too much heat gathers in one place or when pressure grows uneven, the sky seeks balance, yet the process is not quiet. It is dramatic, filled with thunder, lightning, rain, and wind. What feels to you like chaos is, at its heart, the atmosphere's way of restoring equilibrium. A storm is the Earth's exhale when it can no longer hold its breath. Imagine standing in a field just before rain. The air feels heavy, humid, charged. Birds grow silent, leaves hang still. It is as if the world itself pauses, waiting. Then the sky breaks open, wind surges, rain falls, thunder rolls. The stillness shatters into motion, and you are surrounded by the power of the storm. This sudden shift is more than weather, it is transformation. The simplest storms are thunderstorms, born from warm, rising air. When sunlight heats the ground, air lifts quickly, carrying moisture upward. As it rises, the air cools and clouds grow, towering into the sky. Inside these clouds, droplets collide, air churns and charges separate. Lightning forms, sudden and brilliant, a spark across the sky. Thunder follows, the sound of air splitting and rushing back together. In each flash you glimpse the raw energy of the sky, electricity stored and suddenly freed. Lightning is more than spectacle. It stitches sky to ground, equalizing charges that have built within the storm. It heats air to incredible temperatures, hotter than the surface of the sun, for a fraction of a second. That heat expands air violently, and the sound you hear, thunder, is the echo of that expansion. It is a reminder that storms are not only water and wind, but also fire and electricity, all elements woven together. Thunderstorms also bring rain, sometimes soft, sometimes torrential. As air rises and cools, droplets form, growing heavy until they fall. Downpours arrive, flooding fields, filling rivers, cleansing streets. Rain from storms is often fierce, but it is part of the same cycle you have already followed. Water rising, gathering, and returning. Storms simply hasten the cycle, releasing water all at once as if the sky could not hold it any longer. Not all storms remain small. When conditions align, they grow vast, spiraling across seas and lands. Hurricanes, typhoons, cyclones, different names for the same great storm. They begin as clusters of thunderstorms over warm oceans where water evaporates in abundance. The rising air spins, shaped by the Earth's rotation, forming a vortex. As heat from the ocean continues to feed it, the storm grows, winds circling faster, rain falling heavier, pressure deepening at its core. At the center lies the eye, calm, almost still, a strange quiet in the middle of fury. To stand in the eye of a hurricane is to know paradox. The sky is open, blue, serene, while around you walls of cloud tower with violence. The storm's eye is fragile, yet it holds the system together, a still heart inside restless motion. Hurricanes can span hundreds of miles, their winds tearing trees from roots, their rains flooding cities, their surges pushing oceans onto land. Yet even they are not chaos without reason. They are engines of heat, moving energy from warm seas toward cooler regions, redistributing balance across the planet. They are destructive to humans, but essential to the Earth's greater rhythm. Other storms form on smaller scales, but with equal intensity. Tornadoes born from clashing winds twist into narrow funnels, spiraling downward with immense force. They carve paths across plains, fleeting yet devastating. A tornado's life may be only minutes, but within that time, the concentration of energy is profound. The sky, restless and conflicted, channels its imbalance into a single spinning thread. Blizzards are storms too, storms of snow instead of rain. They arrive when moist air collides with cold, producing heavy snowfall driven by strong winds. The world turns white, blurred, muffled. Sound softens, vision shortens, motion slows. Yet beneath their still surface, blizzards are as dynamic as any storm, air currents swirling invisibly, shaping drifts and freezing rivers. Even dust storms belong to this family of motion. In deserts, wind lifts fine particles high into the air, carrying them across great distances. These storms may darken skies, reduce visibility to nothing, and yet they too are part of Earth's balance, moving soil from one place to another, feeding distant lands with minerals, shaping ecosystems in ways unseen. Storms are not only destructive, they cleanse. They bring water to dry ground, carry nutrients to soil, clear stagnant air. After a storm, the world feels renewed. The air is fresh, the sky brighter, the ground nourished. Storms remind you that disruption can also be healing, that even turmoil holds purpose. To you, a storm may feel personal. Its sounds echo in your chest, its winds pull at your clothes, its rain drenches your skin. Yet storms are vast, beyond any one person's scale. They are patterns in the sky, drawn across continents and oceans, ancient and recurring. The same storms that shook the earth centuries ago still form today, still follow the same physics, still play their part in the great choreography of atmosphere. You may recall the hush before a storm, the charged silence that fills the air. This silence is not empty. It is full of potential, waiting for release. And when the storm passes, when the last thunder fades and the sky clears, there is another kind of silence, relief, stillness, renewal. Both moments, before and after, are as much a part of the storm as the lightning and rain themselves. The science of storms does not lessen their wonder. Knowing how lightning forms does not dim its brilliance. Understanding circulation does not quiet the awe of a hurricane's eye. Instead, knowledge deepens appreciation. The storm becomes not just spectacle, but story. A story of heat, pressure, moisture, and balance written across the canvas of the sky. As you lie here listening to this, you might imagine storms far away. A thunderhead rising over plains, a cyclone spinning across seas, a blizzard wrapping mountains in white. Each storm is different, but each is part of the same truth. The sky is never still. It breathes, moves, and sometimes it shouts. And just as storms pass, calm always returns. Clear skies follow thunder, still air follows gales, sunlight follows shadow. No storm lasts forever. The balance is restored, and the cycle continues. What feels fierce is always temporary, part of a larger flow that bends back toward harmony. As your thoughts soften now, let yourself feel the paradox of storms. They are fierce yet purposeful, chaotic yet patterned, destructive yet renewing. The sky in motion expressing itself with power, reminding you that balance comes through both stillness and storm. And as you rest in that thought, another question drifts close. If storms are the sky's fierce motion, what happens when the air grows colder still, and the breath of the world turns to snow and ice? And as you rest in that thought, another question drifts close. If storms are the sky's fierce motion, what happens when the air grows colder still, and the breath of the world turns to snow and ice? Snow and ice, the silent sculptors. The air grows cold and water changes its song. Snow drifts down in silence, delicate yet endless. Ice locks rivers but also preserves time itself. You see the stillness, a pause in the world's breath. The world changes when the air turns cold. Moisture that once fell as rain transforms into something softer, slower, quieter. Snow begins to drift flake by flake from the sky. You look upward, and what you see is not drops but crystals, countless shapes, each unique, falling in silence. The rhythm of weather slows, as if the earth itself has paused to breathe more gently. Snow is water rearranged. When vapor cools in the upper air, it condenses not into droplets, but into ice crystals. Molecules of water locked together in patterns, six-sided, delicate, endlessly varied. No two flakes are identical, though each follows the same basic symmetry. They grow as vapor clings to them, shaping arms and branches, sculpting tiny masterpieces in the hidden chill of clouds. When they grow too heavy, they fall, drifting slowly, carried by the breath of the air until they land upon earth. To watch snow is to watch silence become visible. Unlike rain, which patters and drums, snow absorbs sound. Streets grow hushed, forests quiet, footsteps muffled. The world feels wrapped, softened, insulated. This is one of snow's greatest gifts, the gift of stillness. It transforms not only the land, but the atmosphere of thought, inviting you to slow, to rest, to listen to silence itself. And yet, snow is abundant. A single snowstorm may drop billions of flakes covering mountains, fields, and rooftops in white. What seems delicate is powerful in numbers. Snow feeds rivers, fills reservoirs, and sustains life long after it melts. Entire ecosystems depend on snowpack, the frozen reservoir that releases water slowly in spring. Without snow, many rivers would run dry before summer ends. What drifts in silence today becomes tomorrow's streams, tomorrow's harvests, tomorrow's life. Ice is another sculptor shaping the world in silence. When water freezes, it expands unlike most substances. This expansion cracks rocks, breaks soil, splits cliffs. Over ages, this force carves mountains, creating valleys and shaping landscapes. Glaciers, vast rivers of ice, flow slowly downhill, grinding rock, carrying stones, sculpting the earth with patience. You may not hear them move, but their presence is undeniable. Entire continents bear the mark of glaciers past, their ridges and valleys carved by ice's slow hand. Glaciers hold memory. Within their frozen layers, bubbles of air remain trapped, preserved for thousands of years. Scientists read these bubbles like books, learning the history of Earth's atmosphere, the carbon, the oxygen, the shifts of climate. Ice is not only sculptor but archivist, holding time within its frozen embrace. Think of a frozen lake in winter. Beneath the surface, water remains liquid, fish continue to swim, life persists. The ice above shields, insulates, and protects. This thin sheet is both barrier and guardian, allowing life to survive beneath the cold. The frozen surface is a pause, a moment of rest, but not an end. Beneath, the cycle continues. Snow itself comes in many forms. Sometimes it is powder, dry, fine, light as dust, drifting easily on wind. Sometimes it is wet and heavy, clinging to branches, bending them low. Sometimes it falls as pellets, sleet, or ice crystals that sting against the skin. Each form is a reflection of the air it passed through, the temperatures it encountered, the journey it took from cloud to ground. Snow is shaped by the path it travels, just as rivers are shaped by their beds, and snow changes the world's light. A fresh snowfall reflects nearly all the sun's rays, a brightness that dazzles the eyes. It keeps the earth cooler, bouncing energy back into space. This reflectivity, called albedo, is one of the planet's subtle regulators, balancing heat through whiteness. As snow melts, darker ground absorbs more light, warming the air, shifting the cycle. Snow in its silence holds sway over the temperature of the world. To you, snow may feel personal. It carries memories of footsteps crunching in fresh drifts, of the hush of a winter night, of breath rising in clouds. Children build figures from it, sculpting temporary shapes. Travelers mark paths through it, trails that vanish with the next fall. Snow is transient, impermanent, always reshaping itself, yet always familiar. Ice too holds beauty beyond utility. Icicles hang from eaves, sparkling in sunlight, melting slowly, drop by drop. Frost etches patterns across windows, delicate feathers and ferns grown from the invisible touch of cold. Each is art without artist, beauty born of physics, fleeting yet timeless. And yet, snow and ice are not only beauty, they can also bring hardship. Blizzards bury roads, halt journeys, isolate towns. Ice coats branches, snapping them beneath weight. Frozen rivers can flood when they thaw too quickly. The sculptors of winter can be merciless as well as gentle. But even in this, they remind us of balance, of respect for the forces that shape the world in silence. In the far north and south, snow and ice dominate. Polar regions gleam white, reflecting light, holding cold, sustaining creatures adapted to their chill. Polar bears, penguins, seals, and countless others depend on ice for survival. And when the ice recedes, their lives are shaken. The sculptors of winter are fragile too, melting faster now, shifting the rhythms of oceans and air. Their silence carries warnings as much as beauty. Still, for all their power, snow and ice invite reflection. To walk in snowfall is to feel time slow. Each flake that lands on your hand is a brief miracle, a crystal that formed miles above, traveled downward, and chose this moment to meet you. To hear the crunch of snow beneath your feet is to listen to a sound as old as winter itself. To watch ice melt into water is to witness transformation, the cycle shifting from stillness back to motion. You realize then that snow and ice are not absence but presence, not emptiness but fullness. They are weather holding still, breathing slowly, sculpting quietly. They are the earth's way of resting, pausing, remembering before life begins to move again. And as you let these thoughts settle like snowflakes, soft and quiet, another question stirs. If snow and ice sculpt in silence, what colors awaken when the light bends through the sky and the heavens paint themselves in shades of dawn and dusk? And as you let these thoughts settle like snowflakes, soft and quiet, another question stirs. If snow and ice sculpt in silence, what colors awaken when the light bends through the sky and the heavens paint themselves in shades of dawn and dusk, the colors of the sky? At dawn and dusk the heavens paint themselves. Light bends, scatters, and glows in tender hues. The sky's palette is the earth's soft poetry. You find calm in the science of color and wonder. Look upward, and you see not emptiness, but color. The sky wears its hues like a shifting canvas, always familiar, yet never the same. From the deep blues of midday to the golden glow of sunset, from the gray of clouds to the pink after storms, the atmosphere paints itself ceaselessly. These colors are not illusion, they are the language of light, scattering, bending, and mixing in the air that surrounds you. The blueness of the sky, so steady and calming, begins with sunlight. Sunlight appears white to your eyes, but hidden within it are all colors blended together. When this light enters the atmosphere, it meets molecules of air. The shorter waves of blue and violet scatter more than the longer reds and yellows. Your eyes are more sensitive to blue than violet, so the sky glows with blue light. It is as if the air itself has chosen its garment, wearing blue as a reminder of its presence. This scattering has a name, Rayleigh scattering. Yet you do not need the name to feel its effect. You see it every time you look upward. The endless blue is the atmosphere whispering back the sun's touch. Without air, the sky would be black, even in daytime, as it is on the moon. The color you take for granted is a gift of scattering, a signature of breath surrounding the earth. At dawn and dusk, the story shifts. When the sun is low, its light passes through more of the atmosphere before reaching you. Along the longer path, blue and violet scatter away, leaving reds, oranges, and pinks. The horizon glows with warmth, while the higher sky fades into purple and deep blue. Sunrises and sunsets are the atmosphere's most poetic expressions, colors born from distance and scattering, from the geometry of light and air. Think of a quiet evening, the sun setting over water. The surface reflects bands of gold, orange, crimson. Clouds catch the light glowing from below as though lit from within. These colors exist only for moments, changing by the minute, vanishing as the sun sinks. Yet their impermanence is part of their beauty, a reminder that the sky is not still but always painting itself anew. Clouds deepen the palette. High cirrus clouds scatter light into delicate pinks and golds. Thick storm clouds turn purple and indigo at sunset. Sometimes, when the conditions are just right, the sky glows green or fiery red, colors so rare they feel otherworldly. Each hue is a message of physics and poetry combined, droplets bending light, particles scattering color, air carrying wavelengths in different directions. The science and the beauty are one and the same. After storms, the sky sometimes offers a rainbow. Sunlight passing through raindrops bends and separates, each drop acting as a tiny prism. The result is a bow of color, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, arched across the horizon. To see a rainbow is to see light split into its hidden spectrum, revealed by water's touch. Each color is always present in sunlight. The rain simply unfolds it like a secret revealed. And rainbows are not the only wonders. There are halos, circles of light around the sun or moon, formed by ice crystals high in the atmosphere. Sundogs, bright spots on either side of the sun, glowing like companions born of refraction in icy clouds. Auroras, curtains of green, pink, and violet, shimmering in polar skies, caused not by scattering but by particles from space colliding with air. The sky's colors are endless, each with its own cause, its own rhythm. Yet color is not only above, it touches the world around you through the air. On hazy days, mountains fade into pale blue silhouettes, their outlines softened by scattering. At twilight, shadows stretch long, colored with the warmth of the low sun. Even moonlight, silver and soft, is sunlight reflected and dimmed, scattered once more by the atmosphere before it reaches your eyes. Every color you see in the sky is the meeting of light and air, physics becoming art. Sometimes the sky grows gray, clouds thicken, scattering all colors evenly, leaving only muted light. Though it may seem dull, this too is part of the sky's artistry. A blank canvas, a pause before the next display. Gray skies remind you that color is not always necessary, that simplicity too can soothe. The sky's colors also shape mood. Bright blue lifts the spirit, a sense of openness and calm. Warm sunsets inspire reflection, tenderness, peace. Gray skies invite inwardness, rest, thought. You feel these effects not by accident, but because light and color affect your body as surely as they affect your eyes. They touch your rhythms, your hormones, your emotions. The colors of the sky are woven into the colors of your inner life. Even at night, color lingers. The twilight after sunset glows with deep blue, slowly fading into black. Stars sparkle, their light scattered slightly, twinkling through layers of air. Sometimes the moon glows yellow, orange, or red when low on the horizon, for the same reason as sunsets, its light passing through more atmosphere. Even darkness is never pure. It is always shaped by the subtle hues of the air. Think of the aurora, the northern and southern lights. Particles from the sun strike the upper atmosphere, exciting molecules of oxygen and nitrogen which release light as they calm. The result is waves of green, pink, purple shimmering like curtains across polar skies. To see them is to witness space and earth in conversation, solar wind meeting atmosphere, energy turned into beauty. They remind you that the sky's colors are not confined to day. They are endless, waiting in both light and dark. The sky's palette also shifts with the planet's changes. Dust, pollution, volcanic ash, these add new colors, deepening reds, scattering sunlight differently. After great volcanic eruptions, sunsets around the world can glow with unusual brilliance for months. Even in change, the sky paints, reflecting the state of Earth itself. And though science can explain every hue, the wonder remains. To know why the sky is blue does not take away its beauty. To understand why sunsets are red does not make them less moving. Instead, knowledge deepens awe, the physics becomes poetry, the equations become brushstrokes, the colors become part of your own story. As you breathe beneath the sky, you are part of its painting. The same molecules that scatter light for your eyes scatter light for trees, oceans, mountains. The same sunset you see has touched generations before you and will touch generations after. To watch the sky is to stand in continuity, to witness beauty older than memory. And as the colors fade tonight, the question lingers softly. If the sky's hues are painted by scattering and light, what hidden rivers move unseen within the air, shaping weather beyond what your eyes can see? And as the colors fade tonight, the question lingers softly. If the sky's hues are painted by scattering and light, what hidden rivers move unseen within the air, shaping weather beyond what your eyes can see? The invisible rivers, humidity and pressure. The air hides rivers we cannot see. Moisture clings to warmth, pressure pushes and pulls. These unseen forces guide every breeze and storm. You realize weather is shaped by things felt, not seen. When you look at the sky, you see clouds, colors, light. But much of weather is hidden, flowing quietly, unseen by the eye. The atmosphere holds rivers that do not glitter like streams, but move with as much force. These are rivers of moisture and currents of pressure, shaping the winds, guiding storms, influencing every breath you take. They are the quiet architects of weather, always present, even when unnoticed. Humidity is one of these hidden rivers. You cannot see it, yet you feel it. On some days the air feels heavy, close, saturated. On others it feels crisp, dry, light. This difference is the measure of water vapor in the air. Warm air can hold more moisture than cool air, so humidity rises with heat. That is why summer afternoons often feel thick, while winter air feels parched. It is not only temperature you feel, but the invisible water clinging to warmth. Think of air as a sponge. When it is warm, the sponge grows, able to hold more water. When it cools, the sponge shrinks, forcing water out. This is why dew forms at night. The ground cools, the air cools with it, and the sponge can no longer hold as much water. The excess condenses onto grass, leaves, and windows, sparkling as morning dew. The same process creates fog, clouds, and rain, air reaching its limit, releasing what it cannot carry. Humidity also shapes how you feel heat. On a humid day, sweat does not evaporate easily. Your body's natural cooling struggles and warmth lingers on your skin. On dry days, sweat evaporates quickly, cooling you sometimes too quickly, leaving you chilled. Humidity is not only a measure of air, it is a measure of comfort, an invisible hand on your body's balance. The global symphony. From equator to pole, the planet hums with patterns. Trade winds, jet streams, and monsoons weave together. Your place is small, yet connected to it all. Weather is not random, but Earth's steady song. Stand back in your imagination until Earth lies before you whole, a sphere of blue and green wrapped in shifting white. From this view you see what is harder to notice standing on the ground. The atmosphere moves not as isolated breezes or passing showers, but as a grand interconnected system. Weather is not a scatter of accidents, it is a symphony, an orchestration of heat, light, air, and water, playing across the globe in patterns vast and enduring. At the heart of this symphony is sunlight. The equator receives more direct light, more heat, while the poles receive less. This unevenness creates the first notes, rising air at the tropics, sinking air near the poles. If Earth did not spin, the air might flow simply from equator to pole and back again. But Earth turns, and with its turning, the notes of the atmosphere bend, weaving into complex harmonies. These harmonies appear as circulation cells. Between the equator and 30 degrees latitude are the Hadley cells, vast loops of rising and sinking air. At the equator, warmth lifts moist air high, forming towering clouds and heavy rains. This is why tropical regions are lush, green, bursting with life. That air then drifts poleward, cooling, until around 30 degrees latitude it sinks, dry and warm, creating the world's great deserts. From lush jungles to barren sands, the pattern is one song, different notes. Beyond them lie the feral cells, between 30 degrees and 60 degrees latitude, where air flows in the opposite direction, weaving mid-latitude winds. Here storms swirl, guided by contrasts between warm subtropical air and cold polar air. This zone is dynamic, ever-changing, the stage for many of the weather systems familiar to you. And beyond, near the poles, lie the polar cells, smaller loops of rising and sinking, carrying cold air outward, pulling warmer air in. Together, these three pairs of cells form the planet's great circulation system, 6 bands of rising and falling, drifting and returning. They are the baseline of the symphony, steady and deep, guiding everything else. But there are faster, sharper instruments too, the jet streams. High in the atmosphere, near the boundaries of these circulation cells, narrow rivers of wind race around the globe. They are born from contrasts, warm meeting cold, high pressure meeting low. These streams, moving at hundreds of miles per hour, steer storms, shift climates, and carry weather systems from continent to continent. To look at a map of the jet streams is to see the melody of the upper air, winding, changing, improvising, but always part of the greater harmony. Closer to the surface, the trade winds sing their steady tune. In the tropics, they blow from east to west, carrying ships once guided by their constancy. They bring rains to islands, carry dust across oceans, fuel cyclones that gather and spin. For centuries, sailors relied on them, naming them trade, not only for commerce, but for their reliability. These winds are threads in the global fabric, as dependable as the heartbeat of the planet. And then there are the monsoons, the great seasonal movements of the atmosphere. In South Asia, Africa, and beyond, summer heat draws moist air from oceans, pouring rains for months, filling rivers, feeding fields. In winter, the pattern reverses, dry winds sweep outward. The monsoon is not a storm, but a rhythm, a drumbeat of the earth, pulsing with life and survival. For billions of people, this rhythm is the measure of time itself. The oceans too join the orchestra. Currents move like slow, deep violins beneath the atmosphere's quicker flutes. Warm water flows poleward, cold water sinks and returns, a conveyor of heat and salt across the globe. The Gulf Stream, the Kuroshio, the Antarctic circumpolar current, each is part of this immense ballet. And the ocean does not move alone. It speaks to the atmosphere in cycles, El Niño and La Niña, shifting winds, warming or cooling seas, changing rains and droughts across continents. These cycles are verses in the symphony, repeating but never exactly the same. From your place you feel only fragments, a breeze on your cheek, a passing rain, a storm rolling by. But all are linked to these greater patterns. The gust that moves your hair may be part of air drawn thousands of miles by pressure differences. The rain in your garden may carry moisture once lifted from distant seas. The heat you feel in summer may be shaped by winds that began far from your horizon. The global symphony is not only vast but layered. It plays in daily rhythms, day and night, warming and cooling. It plays in seasonal cycles, monsoons, rains, snows, thaws. It plays in longer cycles, El Niño, La Niña, decades of shifting winds and currents, and even longer still, in ages of ice and warmth, the climate itself shifting in slow crescendos and decrescendos. Think of the Arctic, where ice reflects sunlight, keeping the planet cool. As the ice shrinks, darker seas absorb more heat, altering winds, shifting jet streams, changing rainfall far away. A change at one pole resonates across the globe. The symphony is not local, it is whole. Every note affects the others, every instrument plays in relationship to the rest, and within it all life listens. Birds migrate with the seasons, guided by winds and currents. Whales travel across oceans, following food that blooms where currents meet. Forests grow where rains fall, deserts expand where dry air descends. Human civilizations rise and fall with the symphony too, planting with the rains, building with the floods, adapting to the cycles of drought and storm. To live on earth is to live within this music, whether you notice it or not. It is humbling to realize your smallness in this orchestra. You are one listener, one participant, carried within patterns that stretch across the globe. Yet it is also comforting. The weather that touches you is not random. It is the sound of a planet breathing, a planet balancing, a planet alive. Close your eyes and imagine the sound of this symphony, if it could be heard. The deep hum of circulation cells, the rushing melody of jet streams, the steady beat of trade winds, the seasonal drums of monsoons, the low violins of ocean currents, the sudden cymbals of storms, lightning, thunder. Together they create not chaos but harmony, a living music too vast for ears, but felt in your skin, your lungs, your life. And yet, even as the symphony continues, it is changing. Human actions shift the balance, warming the air, melting ice, altering currents. The song continues, but some notes grow louder, some rhythms less steady. Storms intensify, rains shift, droughts lengthen. The orchestra plays on, but the composition is being rewritten. Still, the music remains, the atmosphere adapting, adjusting, finding new patterns. To notice the global symphony is to notice connection. You are not separate from it. Each breath you take joins it. Each seed you plant depends on it. Each drop of rain that touches you has traveled through it. You are a listener, but also a participant. You live within the music of Earth. And as you soften into this thought, the question rises like a quiet echo. If the global symphony carries you always, how does it reach into your own body, shaping your moods, your rhythms, your weather within? And as you soften into this thought, the question rises like a quiet echo. If the global symphony carries you always, how does it reach into your own body, shaping your moods, your rhythms, your weather within? The human weather. The sky touches you as much as you touch it. Storms shift moods, sunlight warms your spirit. Your breath joins the atmosphere in quiet rhythm. You are part of weather, never separate from it. The atmosphere does not remain outside you. It enters with each breath, passes through your body, shapes your rhythms and moods. The weather you see in the sky has always touched the weather within. The shifting tides of your mind, the rise and fall of your energy, the calm or turbulence of your heart. Think of a bright morning after days of rain. Sunlight streams through your window and your body feels lighter, more awake, as though the light itself had entered your veins. Now think of a grey, dim day, when clouds press low and your mood sinks with them. These shifts are not only poetic, they are biological, written into you as deeply as they are written into the sky. Sunlight is more than warmth. It governs your circadian rhythm, the body's inner clock. Cells in your eyes sense light and send signals to your brain, telling you when to wake, when to rest. When days grow longer in summer, your body leans toward energy, activity, growth. When days shorten in winter, your body turns inward, conserving, resting. The seasons of the sky become the seasons of your life, guiding not only crops and migrations, but your own inner landscape. Air pressure too whispers within you. When it drops suddenly, as before storms, some people feel headaches, joints ache, moods shift. Your body, sensitive to subtle changes, responds to pressure as much as to light. The invisible weight of the atmosphere is felt not only by landscapes, but by muscles and bones, nerves and breath. You carry the memory of weather in your tissues. Humidity shapes you as well. On damp days, heat feels heavier. Your body sweats but finds no relief. On dry days, skin cracks, lips parch, breath grows shallow. You are a creature of balance, tuned to the moisture of air. Even your lungs rely on humidity. Dry air irritates them, while moist air soothes. You are not apart from the air's hidden rivers. You are sustained by them every moment. Storms echo in your emotions. The build-up of tension, the sudden release, the quiet calm afterward. These rhythms are familiar within you. Anger, grief, excitement, relief. They follow the same arcs, the same physics of pressure and release. To live in a human body is to know the weather of feeling, the thunder of stress, the lightning of thought, the rainfall of tears. Each is an expression of the inner sky. Snow and silence too belong within. Just as snow muffles the outer world, there are moments when your mind seeks quiet, a pause, a slowing. Times of reflection, rest and stillness are your inner winters, and like snow, they are not emptiness, but presence, a sculpting, a conserving, a holding of life before it blooms again. Even winds echo in your thoughts. Some days your mind is restless, ideas swirling, impossible to still. Other days your thoughts drift softly like breezes across fields. The wandering of air becomes the wandering of imagination. You are not separate from these patterns. You are a microcosm of them, a smaller echo of the larger atmosphere. Your breath is the most direct connection. Each inhale brings oxygen from the sky. Each exhale returns carbon dioxide. Plants reverse the exchange, inhaling what you release, exhaling what you need. Together, you and the trees, the oceans, the mosses and the grasses form a shared respiration. Your lungs are not only yours, they are part of the Earth's lungs, part of the global exchange of gases that sustains life. The rhythm of your breathing is a reflection of the planet's rhythm, and moods too are tied to weather. Studies show higher sunlight boosts serotonin, lifting spirits, while long gray days can lower it, leading to sadness or stillness. The condition known as seasonal affective disorder is only one example. A reminder that you are shaped by cycles of light and dark, warmth and cold, as surely as the trees and rivers are. You are a seasonal being, even if you do not always notice. Cultures across the world have long noticed this kinship. Poets write of storms as anger, rain as sorrow, sunlight as joy. Myths link gods and spirits to thunder, wind, frost and flame. These are not only metaphors, they are recognitions that weather outside mirrors weather inside, that the boundary between sky and soul is thin. The human weather also connects you to others. Shared sunlight lifts gatherings, bright days invite festivals, while storms bring communities together in shelter. You and those around you experience the same atmosphere, breathe the same air, feel the same rains. Weather is both personal and communal, a shared experience that reminds you of connection. And just as the outer climate changes, so too does the inner. There are times in life when storms are frequent, when restlessness or sorrow fills the days. There are times when calm lingers, when clarity and peace expand like clear skies. There are winters of the heart, summers of spirit, monsoons of creativity, droughts of energy. These are not flaws but cycles, natural as the movement of the earth. To understand yourself as part of weather is to understand impermanence. No storm lasts forever, no drought is endless, clear skies always return, just as challenges ease, just as joys pass and make room for new ones. To live is to cycle, to change, to breathe with the sky. The atmosphere is not only above you, it is within you. It shapes your body, your moods, your thoughts. You are made from it, sustained by it, carried within its flows. To listen to the human weather is to listen to yourself, and through yourself, to the earth. And as you rest in this thought, a final question drifts softly into place. If the human weather is part of the planet's breath, how will the sky itself change in the years to come? and what whispers of the future does it carry? And as you rest in this thought, a final question drifts softly into place. If the human weather is part of the planet's breath, how will the sky itself change in the years to come, and what whispers of the future does it carry? The future of weather. The sky is changing slowly yet surely. Winds shift, storms grow stronger, ice recedes. Still there is beauty, still there is balance. You listen closely and the sky whispers what may come. The weather you have followed through this journey has always been a cycle. Breath rising and falling, light scattering, winds wandering, water returning. For countless centuries it has repeated with rhythm and balance, but now the rhythm itself begins to shift. The sky whispers differently. The song of weather is changing slowly, unevenly, yet undeniably. You are living within this transformation. The atmosphere is delicate, thin as the skin of an apple if Earth were shrunk to that size. It is easily influenced by even small changes. For millions of years, volcanic eruptions, shifts in orbit, and movements of continents have altered weather patterns. But in recent centuries, another force has entered: human beings. By burning fuels, clearing forests, reshaping land, humanity has added new notes to the symphony, some soft, some sharp, all altering the music of the sky. One of the clearest changes lies in temperature. Carbon dioxide, methane, and other gases released by human activity trap more heat, strengthening the natural greenhouse effect. The Earth warms not evenly but persistently. With warmth, weather grows restless, heat waves linger longer, nights cool less, summers stretch further. What once was rare becomes familiar, what once was familiar grows extreme. The atmosphere's breath deepens, quickens, unsettles, and with heat comes water. Warmer air holds more moisture, filling the invisible rivers of humidity. When storms arrive, they pour heavier rains, flooding rivers, overwhelming cities. Yet at the same time, warmer climates can dry soils, intensify droughts, parch forests. Extremes grow sharper, floods on one side, dryness on the other, both born from the same cause, the air's new ability to carry more water. Storms too grow stronger. Hurricanes feed on heat from oceans, warmer seas fuel fiercer winds, heavier rains, greater surges. What was once a storm of memory may become a storm of frequency. Tornadoes may shift their ranges, appearing where they did not before. Blizzards, paradoxically, can grow harsher when warmer air holds more moisture, releasing it suddenly as snow where cold still rules. Weather becomes more dramatic, more unpredictable, yet still tied to the physics you know: heat, pressure, moisture, motion. The rules do not change, but the stage upon which they play has tilted. And the ice, the silent sculptors of the poles and mountains, melts. Glaciers retreat, ice sheets thin, permafrost softens, the albedo shifts. Where white once reflected sunlight, darker seas and soils absorb it, deepening the warming. This is feedback, the cycle amplifying itself. Sea levels rise as ice melts and oceans expand with heat, reshaping coasts, swallowing low islands, redrawing maps. The sculptors of silence are vanishing, and with them part of the balance of the earth. Yet even as the sky changes, beauty remains. Sunsets still paint their colors, rain still cleanses the air, snow still hushes the night. The daily cycles continue, only altered in their frequencies and intensities. You still breathe with the planet, you still live within its weather. The future is not only loss, but adaptation, adjustment, new patterns forming. The symphony continues, though the music is shifting into new keys. Science listens closely to these changes. Satellites circle the Earth, measuring clouds, heat, winds. Stations track rainfall, pressure, temperature. Models run on computers, predicting possible futures, testing what may come. And though the details vary, the direction is clear. Weather will grow more extreme, patterns more unpredictable, rhythms less steady. Yet knowing this is not cause only for fear. Knowledge is also guidance, a map to prepare, to adapt, to live more gently within the atmosphere's breath. Think of the monsoon again. It may shift, bringing rain earlier or later, heavier or weaker. For farmers, this means change, challenge, but it also means opportunity, new crops, new rhythms. Human history has always bent with weather. Now it must bend further. Think of coastlines threatened by rising seas. Cities build walls, plant mangroves, adapt their homes. Life adjusts, as it always has. Weather changes and humanity learns to listen differently. Even within uncertainty, resilience blooms. Renewable energies harness the wind, the sun, the very forces of the atmosphere. Forests can be regrown, waters protected, air cleared. The same species that altered the weather can also care for it, choosing new ways to live within the global breath. The future of weather is not only something that happens to you, it is something you are part of shaping. And beyond change, there is continuity. The trade winds will still blow, the jet streams will still circle, the earth will still spin, the sun will still rise, clouds will still bloom, rain will still fall. The symphony plays on, only with different emphases, louder drums, softer flutes, shifting harmonies. To notice the changes is to notice that you belong to this moment in Earth's history, one note in the long song of time. Your own human weather reflects this truth. Just as storms come and go within you, so too do storms pass in the atmosphere. Just as calm returns after turmoil, so too does balance eventually return to the earth. Impermanence is the law of both skies and souls. To know this is to find comfort, even in change. Picture now a child of the future, standing beneath the same sky. They may see fewer glaciers, stronger storms, warmer nights, but they will also see rainbows, auroras, sunsets, clouds in their endless variety. The sky will still teach wonder, still invite awe. Weather is not only danger, it is the poetry of the atmosphere, always available to those who pause to notice. And so you, here now, rest in the knowledge that the sky's future is unwritten but continuous. It holds challenges but also beauty. It holds turbulence but also renewal. The weather is the earth's breath, and though its rhythm shifts, it continues, an endless inhale and exhale, a music that will outlast any single storm. As you drift toward rest, imagine yourself listening, not with ears but with being. Hear the global symphony as it changes tempo, as new instruments rise, as some fade. Hear the continuity beneath the change, the pulse of atmosphere that remains steady even in transformation. You are part of it, one listener among billions, one breath among countless breaths, carried within the music of the sky. And in this listening, one thought lingers like twilight at the edge of night. If the weather of the future is uncertain yet unbroken, how will you too move with its rhythms, to live not apart from the sky, but always within its song? And in this listening, one thought lingers like twilight at the edge of night. If the weather of the future is uncertain yet unbroken, how will you too move with its rhythms, to live not apart from the sky, but always within its song? Resting in the sky's embrace. The journey of weather has carried you far. Through breath and light, winds and clouds, rains and storms, snow and colors, pressures and patterns, you have followed the sky's rhythm. Each chapter has been a step in a circle, a reminder that weather is not random, but a living cycle, rising, falling, changing, returning. Now, at the end of this path, you can pause. You can let the knowledge soften into feeling. The atmosphere is not something apart from you. It is the air in your lungs, the warmth on your skin, the rain that feeds the food you eat, the snow that fills rivers you will drink. The winds that wander carry seeds, dust, and breath across continents, linking you to forests, deserts, and oceans you may never see. You are woven into this fabric, as surely as clouds are woven into the sky. Think back to the first breath of air rising and falling, the atmosphere as ocean. Think of the sun's uneven warmth, stirring currents that touch every shore. Think of winds traveling ancient paths, clouds blooming as gardens, rain returning to earth. Think of storms breaking, snow sculpting, colors painting, invisible rivers flowing. Think of the global symphony and finally the human weather within your own body. Each part is not separate, but one great song. You are small within it and yet not insignificant. Your breath, your warmth, your choices, your awareness, all are part of the atmosphere's story. To know this is to feel both humility and connection, both awe and belonging. As you lie here now, the science becomes something more than fact. It becomes comfort. The knowledge that storms pass, that rains return, that snow melts, that skies clear. This is not only about the weather above, but also about the weather within. No feeling, no season of life lasts forever. Change is the law of sky and soul alike. Close your eyes and imagine the earth itself breathing. Inhale, warmth rising at the equator, clouds forming, winds wandering. Exhale, cool air sinking, rains falling, balance returning. The planet breathes and you breathe with it. This rhythm has held for billions of years, and it holds you now. The future may be uncertain, but the breath continues, the symphony continues. The sky will always carry color, motion, silence, song. It will always cradle you within its arms of air, and you, in turn, will always be part of it, carried gently, endlessly, like a leaf drifting on the wind. So let yourself rest now in the embrace of this truth. You are inside the sky always. You are inside its breath, its music, its change. You are not apart from weather, but one with it. And as you drift into sleep, the journey does not end. It simply joins the cycle, like vapor rising, like rain returning, like clouds dissolving into blue. The sky will continue its story, softly, endlessly, and you may rest within it.